This video is for entertainment purposes only. None of the information you're about to hear should be considered medical advice, and you should always consult a licensed medical practitioner before embarking on a health or lifestyle change. So this week we're with Hyla from Crafty and Carnivore-ISH. Remember your channel, didn't it start out as just Crafty and Carnivore at one point, did it?
Yes, it did.
Yeah. Things change though, don't they?
They do.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good to have you here. We've been trying to set this up for a while, but you were definitely one of the people I wanted to have on this series, because we've been sort of following each other for quite a while now, and
yeah,
I think we have our channels have a lot in common, I think, but I like, as you've seen in some of the other episodes, my goal is to bring everybody's different story to the platform, and hoping that we can help as many people as we can.
Yeah.
So why don't we start with, I guess, sort of how you get started with the low carb lifestyle, and what led you to it, and we can go from there.
Okay. I can't remember like an exact moment that I decided to do it. I think I just kind of stumbled across some YouTube videos, and I know whatever I watched led me to Dr. Berry, and that's what changed my opinion about keto and low carb and all that, because I'm on Pinterest a lot, and you see a lot of keto stuff on Pinterest, and it was just kind of eye rolling, because there's been low carb diets around for years and years, but the way most people think about it when they don't know anything about it is, I'm going to do it for a month or two and lose a little weight, then I'm going to go back to eating the way I was. And that's the way I saw it too. So I would just roll my eyes because I didn't really understand any of it. But once I found Dr. Berry, I just started binge watching his live streams and past live streams. And I was a little intimidated by keto, to be honest, because everybody would talk about macros and this percentage of fat and this and that. And I didn't understand what they were talking about. And that just turned me off of keto. And he made carnivore sound so easy. And I thought, well, I can give it a try. And, he talked about, I'm sorry, I'm saying, a lot.
Not fun.
I don't know why I do that. But he was talking about, I want to say he was saying that you should give it 3 months or 90 days or something like that. And so I thought I can do that, because I have a lot of stomach issues, or I had a lot of stomach issues. And that was my main reason for wanting to do it, because I heard, story over story about it changing, helping stomach issues, whatever they were, abdominal issues. And I had had my gallbladder removed. So I was one of those people who's like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. I've had my gallbladder removed. But watching Dr. Berry and listening, and that changed my life. So I thought, I'll do carnivore for 90 days and see how I feel. And so that's what I did. So that's why I went with Crafty and Carnivore. Crafty, because I have the crafting channel, so I had to carry that over. And so I was like, okay, I'll be carnivore for 90 days, and I'll just journal this for 90 days. And that'll be my channel name. I didn't really expect anybody to watch, or, what was going to happen after that 90 days or anything. So that's the reason for the channel name. But I ended up going over 100 days carnivore. And of course, knowing what I know now and feeling the way I feel now, I'm not going to go back to eating that way. But I did want to have more options and not be so strict. So that's why I'm doing keto now. I consider myself keto now, even though for both meals, I had steak today. And yesterday I had steak for one of my, a lot of my meals are meat, just meat based, but I think if you call yourself keto, you've got more options, and you're not so closed into a box. And people, you've got these carnivore people that are really strict and will give you a hard time if you eat something that's not carnivore.
Yeah, for sure. I think the whole Dr. Berry angle, the thing I like about him is that he's not trying to put anyone in a box either. Like he is definitely pro meat based diet,
Mhm.
more of a meat heavy diet than anything else. But the way he calls it, the proper human diet, is,
Yes.
it allows you that flexibility to, like you say, some days you're carnivore, some days you aren't. I'm the same way, like I have lots of days where all I eat is meat, but like the other night I had salad too. So,
Right.
like it allows you the flexibility to just, just eat the way you feel the best.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
wish from the beginning, if I could recommend to anybody, I would have just said I'm on the proper human diet. If I just told
Mhm.
myself that I'm not carnivore, I'm not keto, I'm not this or that. I really like to say proper human diet. If I post like what I've eaten, it always says proper human diet. I don't,
Mhm.
and I'll put keto and carnivore like in the hashtags, but
Right.
that just widens it up, and you're not in like this box of carnivore or ketovore or whatever. You can move around
Mhm.
in that section.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, like you were saying at the beginning there, I think a lot of people fall into uh, that frustration with trying to find out what keto is, and all these things. Because
Mhm.
if you get sucked into the YouTube keto videos, like, when I first started too, it was the same thing. I spent 2 weeks watching pretty much every keto video I could find, and going between different creators that have different ideas as to
Mhm.
what it looks like, and like you were
Mhm.
talking about tracking macros and how much this and how much that. It's like, it's no wonder that people look at it, they're like, well, this is, this sounds like work. I'm not even gonna try it.
Yeah. And that's me. I'm not the kind of person that likes to like track things and write,
Hmm.
and do an app and put all that stuff in there. I've done that before with the old way of cutting calories and
Hmm.
exercising more. And I would write all that stuff down, and that would last like a week or two. And then I would just be burnt out on it. And I know that's what would happen to me if I started doing macros and stuff. It would burn me out.
Sure. Yeah, people that I talk to, it all depends on what your personality is. Some people thrive on data,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
they like to see that. I know guys like Alan, um, he tracks a lot of stuff, and he's the kind of person that
Hmm.
loves to do things like that. But like you say, I'm the same way with tracking it. To me, if I had to track it, it wouldn't be enjoyable at all.
No, me either.
Hmm.
And I hope that I don't get to a position that I have to do that, because it will frustrate me and could possibly derail me. But I don't think I'll ever go back to eating the way I did, just because I
Hmm.
feel so much better.
Sure. Yeah, like I think knowing sort of what the data says can be like helpful. Like
Hmm.
if you can't understand food labels and stuff like that, and you want to use an app for the first couple of weeks, or even after you've been doing it for a while, and you think you're losing, you're losing track of what you're doing, because it happens to everyone. I think
Hmm.
you can get comfortable with what you're doing, and then your things creep
Yeah.
in, and then sometimes it can be helpful to track for a few days and think, oh, wait a minute, this is why I don't feel as good as I did last year or whatever. But yeah, I'm the same way. I would just rather do what makes me feel good, and I don't really care what the numbers have to say about it.
Yeah. I'm the
Yeah.
same way. I
Yeah.
mean, if I had to do it for a week or two, I could probably handle that. But if I had to do it long term, that would I don't know if it would derail me, but it would definitely frustrate me and not put me in a good place, because I
Hmm.
get stressed out very easily and overwhelmed, and that makes me emotional eat,
Hmm.
stress eat. So that would be like, you know, what would be the purpose of doing that to myself if I'm going to go in there and start binging on chocolate or something because I'm stressed out from doing macros, I mean, so
Hmm.
I just
Hmm.
I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible and give myself grace.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think that's good advice too. Like it's this more simple you can make the whole thing, the easier it is to stick with it. You know, like
Mhm.
if you just follow the advice that Dr. Barry gives you, just say, you know, even I know you've done that beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. Like you've done that before, haven't you?
I did it
Did you
for
do?
about a week.
Yeah, yeah, and I've done it too. And it's one of those things where again it kind of limits you, but it also sort of sets you up for understanding, you know, the ways you can make things easier on yourself, right?
Yeah.
So
I also did an egg fast for like 3 days, and I didn't want to touch an egg for a few weeks after that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's one thing I've never done. Like I eat enough eggs like almost every day, anyways. But
Yeah.
I don't think I can handle just eating eggs for any extended period of time.
I still am like, I still don't eat as many eggs as I used to because of doing that. And that was at
Mm,
least 3 months ago, if not longer.
right. So how long have you been sort of following this lifestyle?
I just looked recently, it was the very end of June when I became full carnivore. I did
Mm,
spend at least a couple of months like lowering my carbs and sugar and working myself into the diet. I
mm-hmm.
didn't go cold turkey and make myself sick. And that
Right.
worked really, really well for me. For me, it did. I know
Mm-hmm.
some people it works really well for them just to take the plunge, but for me, doing it long term like that, just slowly cutting stuff, worked really, really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good advice too. Like you know, you have to understand what kind of personality you are. Again,
Mhm.
I'm not the kind of person that can slowly cut things back and get to where I want to be over time. I'm a, you know, jump in with both feet,
Mhm.
you know, one day to the next, completely make a change. But that again, that's just my personality.
Right.
But I think you're right. It's if people can say at first take away the worst offender in the diet, you know, and then
Mhm.
slowly work away at getting other things. That's definitely a good way to look at it. That way, it's not just such a shock to your body, and you're not winding up with things like keto flu and
Right. Which I did
which
not.
right.
No, I mean, not bad. I had a little bit. And also, I should say, because I had had my gallbladder removed, I thought I was supposed to eat really lean meats, and
Mm,
I ate like a bird, and I ate several times a day. So
hmm
I needed to completely switch that. And I don't think it would have been good with not having a gallbladder to go to high fat, high meat,
hmm
like fatty meats and stuff from eating chicken breast and a little bit of
hmm
fish and shrimp. So I had to slowly introduce more a beef and less of what I was eating. So that was another thing too. I wasn't just cutting stuff back. I was slowly introducing this other stuff. So it
hmm
wouldn't be such a shock. And I think that would have been I heard recently, and it may have been Dr. Barry's, I don't remember for sure, but somebody was talking about the gallbladder and eating too much fatty meat after doing like a fast or something and how dangerous that was. I don't remember all of that. I'm sorry, I can't remember what channel it was, but I was like, "Well, I'm glad I did that."
Yeah, I think I'm sure Dr. Barry has talked about it. Like if, especially with an extended fast, you know, you're always better to when you do break your fast is eat something, you know, a bit leaner,
Mhm.
a small portion just to get things working again, and then you can go back to it. Um, and you know, the whole gallbladder thing it's such a common theme with a lot of people, and you know, you've been able to show that you can do it without a
Yeah,
gallbladder. It just takes
no pain.
some, yeah, it just takes some adjustment.
Mhm.
You know, I had a real hard time eating with eating fats when I started. Like for the first 6 months or so,
Really.
it messed my digestion up really bad. Um, but I found I started taking the ox bile salts, like it's just a supplement that helps your body break down the fats. If you're not producing enough bile from your
Oh, okay.
gallbladder. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's, but everybody, deals with it differently depending on where you're at when you start. Right.
Yes,
So,
that's exactly right.
yeah. So speaking of fasting, do you do that very much, or is it just
Just
a nat?
intermittent. I do
Yeah.
intermittent. I've done 24 hours before, but it's never been planned. It's just something that's kind of happened naturally.
Hmm. Yeah. I think that's another common thing too, is a lot of people that get fat adapted and, are off the carbs and all that. Quite often it just turns into you know, a reflex, I guess you would say, because you're not always that hungry anyways.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, uh, when did you, I can't remember when I first found you on
I
YouTube, but
know.
yeah.
It's
Um,
been a few months. Had to be
yeah.
in the fall at least, or maybe
Yeah.
late summer or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've got your crafting channel, which is pretty big. It's coming up on what, 10,000 subscribers
Almost.
almost,
I'm really, really
almost.
close. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and your other channel's doing really well too. Like it's where, um, when did you start that right away, or did you just get into that a
Um,
few months after? Or?
I think it was July, so it was not very long. It was like a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks after I
Mhm.
started full carnivore that I decided, hey, I want to, just for myself at least, to
Mhm.
so I can go back and kind of see how I started, and then also to be accountable. It really, really helps to be accountable when you have a channel.
Yep, for
If you're
sure.
sharing like what you're eating and stuff like it, just you just have to be accountable to the people that are watching, and so it really helps to keep you on track. I think
Mhm.
that's for me.
Yeah, yeah, same with me. And I think, I don't know what your situation is with, people around you. If you have support or other people like in your family that are doing the same thing, or if you're sort of doing it by yourself, or
Mhm.
that can definitely be hard if you're not going through it with someone else.
Right.
It Obviously it's doable. You just have to make some adjustments as far as making everyone's lives as easy as possible. Because when you cut so many things out of your diet, then sometimes it can affect the people around you too.
Yes. Yeah. My family is high carb, high sugar
Mm,
still, but it's doable. It's not that bad because uh, I've had so many stomach issues through the years that I have changed my diet so many times because, I got told to do gluten free and
hmm
cut out dairy, and I was told to cut out red meat too. Let's see, there was so many different things over the years that I cut out, and nothing helped. It
hmm
never worked. But so I've had so many years of having a different diet than my family that it's not anything unusual for mom to have a different diet than everybody else in the house. So it's not that bad for me. I'm
hmm
sure for some people it is. And then I
hmm
also don't work out of the house. And I know, from past I have and worked in an office. And I know that's hard for people when you work somewhere where people are bringing donuts and cookies and cakes and stuff like
hmm
that. At least I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, the temptation is just everywhere. It seems like I luckily I don't work in an office either, so it's kind of, I don't, not around that kind of stuff too much. But you're right. If you're in certain environments, it's a constant battle to try and uh, keep yourself on track, because there's just those temptations at every corner, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vending machines. I mean, yeah, there's just stuff everywhere.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And like eating at home too. And that's one of the things, like a lot of people will say, when you're starting a lifestyle change, is to purge the house of all the temptations, like all of the trigger foods and everything. Well, you can't really do that if everyone else is still uh, eating the same way, right?
Right. And I heard that over and over, and that kind of irritated me
Mm-hmm.
when I kept hearing that. And then I still hear that a lot. And it makes me mad because I can't. I live with, a husband. I'm pointing like he's here. He's not here.
Mm-hmm.
And an adult son and a teenage daughter. They're old enough to make decisions on themselves. I can't force them to eat this way. And I certainly can't go through the house and throw away all their food. I
Right.
can't do that. That's ridiculous. If we were all doing it, then yes, we could purge the house. But no, we cannot do that. And it's not fair to ask somebody to do that or say that's the simple way to do it. Just go throw away all their stuff. You can't do that. That's just,
Yeah.
first of all, it would make everybody angry, and then they would just go buy more of it. And
Sure.
what would be the purpose?
Yeah. Yeah. All you can really do is, lead by example and hope that, sooner or later people see the results and make the changes. Right. So, but yeah, you're right. I agree completely. Of course, a lot of the advice you see from certain creators, I think, is kind of not sort of geared towards real life necessarily.
I agree.
Like
I
it's
agree.
all nice to hear and everything. And I guess if you're living single and it's just you in the house, or you're a couple that is going to start the journey by yourself, well, then maybe it makes sense to get rid of the box of Oreos or whatever. And so the temptation's there, but I don't, more and more. Well, I guess a lot of the people I see, everybody in the household's doing it, but it's just not, it's not like a blanket statement, or it can't be taken that way anyways.
Right. And that's why I try to keep some keto snacks, some keto treats, because I know myself, and I know that when I get stressed, emotional, something like that, that I'm going to not necessarily binge eat. I will say that like eating like 2 or 3 chocolates would be binging for me. But, I'm going to go grab stuff like that when I'm in that state, because that's just where I'm at. And that's just something that I've always done. And it's going to take a long time for me to break those habits. And I would rather have keto stuff to go towards, like zero chocolates and stuff like that, than be tempted by their stuff. And I do have some people that give me a hard time about like the Chalk Zero or the keto crates and stuff like that. I've gotten 2 keto crates, and I'm just like, you don't understand. I live with a high carb family. I've got to have my stuff when I'm feeling this way and I want some snacks, or if I'm going to be on the road or something, I need those things, because I know we're going to stop at gas stations and my husband's going to be grabbing potato chips and sodas and stuff like that. I've dealt with that recently, but I had my stuff with me, and I had bacon. I had some, as Dawn calls it from, I don't know if you know Dawn, but they call it baggy bacon, which cracks me up.
Yeah.
Just bacon that's cooked in a Ziploc bag. But I had some baggy bacon with me. I've got to do stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that's really important, is you have to figure out what can help you get through those times, and I'm the same way, as far as I can't stand people that say, oh, well, you shouldn't have that. You shouldn't have, like, okay, well, maybe you shouldn't have it, but this is what keeps me on track. Right.
Right.
Like it's, if I have to take, take some of those cheese crisps and, pepperettes and all sorts of different things to the movies with us, and then I'll take a Zevia or whatever. And, and then I don't have to worry about, then I don't have to worry about being tempted by all the junk that you can get at places like movies and all that stuff out.
Yeah.
Cause like you can't, I don't know, some people can live their life without any temptation, but if that's not you, then you should definitely have something to fall back on to help you through those times, for sure.
And that's what, and that's just where I'm at. And that's what I need right now. And like you said, the Zevias, I've got Zevias. So when I want a soda, and I love the Chalk Zero chocolate. That's my favorite. If
Yeah.
I had to pick one keto snack, it would be Choc Zero chocolate.
Yeah. Yeah. And like again, there's a lot of the purists out there that say, well, that's not keto. And, if it's in a package, then it's not really healthy. And, and I'm sort of leaning towards whole foods are always best as well. But, I've got Lily's chocolate in the fridge, and I've got keto bricks, and I've got all sorts of other stuff that, that I use when I get those cravings, so that I don't go back to the potato chips and
Exactly.
and Oreos, right? So,
And I love the keto chow too.
yeah.
I have an
Yeah.
ice cream maker, and so, my family, that's another big thing. We've always been ice cream eaters, and I have to watch them eating their Bluebell ice cream all the time. And so I am so grateful to Keto Chow for having a product that I can make my own ice cream and not feel guilty about it. That's another thing, the guilt. When we were talking about, just saying the proper human diet or just saying keto because it gives you a wider range, is when I would go off of carnivore in any way, and I'm including like having a flavored element, I would feel this horrendous guilt that I was doing something horribly wrong by doing that.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about, giving yourself grace. Like, this is just ridiculous how hard I was on myself. And you have to think about how you were eating before. Like, if I look at all the stuff I was eating before, I'm eating 100 times better than what I used to eat. And do I eat perfectly? No, but I am on my journey, and I think I'm doing really well. And I'm just going to continue and grow and just keep chugging along.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's really good advice and a good attitude to be able to sustain something like this. Like you say, putting yourself in that box, it does exactly that. Is it puts you in a position where if you stray outside that box, you get that guilt, and then it can lead to really bad things, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you're trying to do good things for yourself, but you're also stressing yourself out about it. And
I was too, big
yeah.
time. And I know you were one of the people that were telling me to have grace, or to give myself a break and not be so strict, and or all that stuff. I remember that, because I was being really ridiculous there for a while. And like the package of bacon, I was like, oh my gosh, there's sugar in the cure. I can't eat this bacon. I mean, I was just being overly dramatic about the whole thing. So I would definitely suggest to people to give themselves a break and not be so strict. I mean, if you have to be strict, that's fine. But like, you're new to this journey and you're trying to find your way, don't try to do it perfectly. There's no such thing as perfect.
Sure. Yeah. Like he doesn't say it much anymore, but I remember way back when Dr. Barry first started doing a lot of his live streams. Like, the one thing he always used to say is that hot dogs and mustard are better than, Twinkies and,
Yeah, I've heard him say that too.
so you do the best you can, with what you've got. And that goes for, the quality of the food that you buy, like with the way food prices are just, through the roof these days. You have to do the best you can. And if that means not having, the grass fed Wagyu beef or whatever, and you can just afford the regular ground beef from the supermarket, well,
That's what I did.
it's better than the poor alternatives that are out there. So
Right. That was me.
cool. Yeah. So what about again, that's one thing that sort of goes both ways with a lot of people in this diet, is if you like changed any exercise routines, or if you got into more exercise, or is it just
Not
more?
really. I'm sorry, cut you off there.
Yeah, no worry. Yeah.
I've always been a walker, but I will go through stages throughout the year. Like, usually spring and summer, probably like after Christmas on through summer, I'll be really, really good at walking. and getting a lot of steps in. And then when fall comes around, because fall is my busiest time, and I'm in here a lot and on my feet, but I'm not getting that many steps in. So that's always a bad time for me. Like I don't ever do as well, like diet wise or exercise or anything like that during that time. But yeah, I'm always been a walker. But like I said, I'm not good about doing it all year long. So that's something I want to change. And then I do occasionally jog. It's just when I feel like it.
Yeah.
I'll get like good at, getting it in like 3 times a week, and then I'll just stop for whatever reason and not do it for months. And then I've got some little 2-pound weights, and I try to do those a few times a week too, just some arm exercises. And I do a few yoga stretches because I have back problems. So those always keep my back in pretty good shape. But that's about all I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's would be pretty important if you're on your feet a lot, doing what you do. Back problems are the worst.
Yes.
Like it's definitely worth keeping the back strength where it needs to be. But like even just standing, it burns calories. Like people don't realize just being awake and standing is burning calories constantly through the day. So it's better than sitting at a desk and,
that's true.
Staring at a screen all day. Right. So
that's another bad thing about having a channel is, you're sitting in front of the computer editing, doing thumbnails, doing this and uploading and all that stuff. And sometimes you can be sitting there for 2 or 3 hours working on videos and not even realizing it, and you're not getting any steps in. It's not like you can walk with your laptop and do that. So that's hard too, trying to find that balance of not being on the computer so long and get everything done.
Yeah. And that's the key word is balance, trying to balance, your health and lifestyle with what you're doing. Like I haven't spent a lot of time working on my YouTube channel, trying to focus more on it now. So you're right. I'm spending a lot more time putting videos together and everything, but it's thankfully my job keeps me basically walking all day. So I don't really worry too much about it, but and that's another thing with this lifestyle is that, even just changing your lifestyle can make a huge difference, because a lot of people, when they start, like people like Bob, semi-retired Bob, he couldn't even walk when he started. So, and now he walks like, I don't know how many miles every day. So,
I know, it's crazy. And he's so thin. Every time I see a new thumbnail or see one of his lives, it's like he's just getting smaller and smaller.
Yep. And he hasn't been on the journey too long either. So
no,
it's good to see. And that's why I wanted to have people like you and Bob and Mike and Tom and everyone else on the channel, so that people can see that it doesn't have to take, years and years. Like I've been doing this for 4 years now. But we've already seen stories of changing your life in 6 to 8 months. Right. So,
yeah.
So.
But I'll tell you, going back to my stomach issues, I dealt with those for 20 years at least, abdominal issues. And I got so many different diagnoses and so many different tests. I want to say it was 2 weeks on carnivore diet and I stopped having those issues. I spent every evening of my life in pain, laying in bed in pain, and just, I don't even want to go into details of what my stomach was doing, but it was amazing. 2 weeks. I know it was just a couple of weeks in, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm not in pain tonight. It's crazy.
Yeah. It really is amazing how quickly your body can heal itself if you're giving it the right nutrition, and you stop feeding it, things that it can't really do anything with.
Yeah.
So
it's remarkable.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time tonight. This has been a great conversation.
Yes.
I know we've we talk to each other almost every day in different live streams, but I've never actually got to sit down and
I know.
and hear your story. So it's definitely a good been a good conversation, and I'm sure it's going to be, going to help someone. Once we get this up on YouTube, it'll help someone, and that's the goal. Is that if someone watches one of these videos and relates to it and can change their life, that's sort of where I'm trying to go with it. But usually what I like to end on is if you could give one piece of advice to someone that's starting out, what would you say to them?
Just one. I would definitely say find the community first. So I think that's really important. That has really, really helped me as the community, getting on these live streams. I know a lot of people do Facebook and stuff like that. I don't do any of that. I don't do any other social media, but the live streams especially is what's really, I love that community. And I've made so many friends from just joining live streams. And I've noticed though, some people will get on lives and they'll say, this is my first time here. Nobody's talking to me or something, you've got to keep coming back, and you got to chat and just let people get to know you. And pretty soon you'll find yourself in this big circle of people. There's all these different little communities within this group, and each one of them I feel like I've been taken in like this. There's just so many wonderful people in this community that will just support you and give you love and encouragement. And I think that's just one of the most important things. So I think even before you get started, if you just come and chat and find that community, and they will help you along.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've said that many times before too, that if you don't have the support behind making a change like this, it can be really hard. And just like you say, don't be afraid to jump into live streams. I wouldn't necessarily suggest, like, I know we've talked Dr. Barry up as much as we can tonight, but his live streams probably aren't where you should start.
No, it's like,
yeah, you really can't get anything done with 4,000 other people there. So
no. If you're looking for the community, like chatting with people, that it's going to be very difficult on there. But all these small channels, or even Two Crazy Ketos, you're gonna get that community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I 100% agree. That's one of the top 3 things I think anyone should know when they're starting something like this is find the support so that you can keep going.
Yes.
And if you have those bad days, then you're not that far away from someone that can help you through it.
Right. And I've exchanged numbers with several of the women in this community, and we chat here and there, and it's just so nice to have them, and they're just so welcoming, and all of them have been doing it for years, and they're still just so welcoming to new people. Sure. So that's definitely something I suggest.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, this has been great. Again, I thank you for coming on here and sharing your story with everyone. And obviously you're on YouTube. Your channel is Crafty and Carnivore-ISH, which I'll put a link down in the description for your channel. Is that where that's all you do? Are you on like Instagram and places like that too? Yeah.
No,
just YouTube. Yeah. Yeah. I don't blame you. those other places, other places can get a little exhausting sometimes. So
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah.